So I kind of grew up in front of the camera just because my parents always had digital cameras, always taking photos of us as kids. Like my mom has 1,000 photo albums of just so many candid photos of us growing up. So I just thought that was like normal. I thought everyone lived their life in front of a camera with your parents just saying smile every 5 seconds. Um, and even like going to Costco to pick up the developed photos and like that whole thing of like and looking through the photos, like that just became something that I started to care about. I think even though I didn't know back then that I was caring about it, but I was like, I want to go find our photos and flip through them and getting them developed and waiting for them to come back. And so I just always had cameras growing up. And my in college, when I became a part of Fly, I was like, well, we gotta take some photos. I had a really good friend at the time who he was a photographer. Well, we were both kind of like in the up and coming of being a photographer, but he had a camera and we would just mess around with his camera. And I'd be like, oh, well, do you think you could help me like learn how to figure this out on manual so it's not always on auto? And yeah, he kind of helped me figure out how to take photos. And I kind of started with Fly in the beginning stages of photography, taking photos for Fly as I was learning how to use a camera and how to work it. And then as those photos started surfacing, I had other companies reaching out and being like, hey, we'll pay you to take these photos. And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay. Let me like actually figure out what I'm doing and like learn how to do this for real. And I remember my dad surprised me one day and bought me my camera that I use today still. And I was like, okay, well, oh my gosh, like he bought me this camera. That was such a kind gesture. Like cameras are very expensive and it came with different lenses. And I was like, oh my God, okay, now I really have to actually like use this and make money off of
Yeah.
it because he bought this for me. Like I'm not just gonna let it sit around and collect dust.
The idea of divination, which is basically a chance operation. And in the East, in China, they think about divination as like what likes to happen in time with each other, whereas like the Western sort of conception of divination is like linear. You ask me a question, and I there is like a fixed future, and I can tell you what that future is, versus like the more Eastern approach, which is like atmospheric or dimensional. Like there is a certain sort of quality of time right now that and when I pull cards in that quality of time, it has some sort of reflection to you and me because we are here in this quality of time together.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so tying that into public arcana and remembering all of this that I was going to say is like that's that same thing that we were talking about too, which is like dimensionality and like thinking about the quality of the time versus the linear, like the body, look, the focal point, the body as the focal point, as like this spectacle. It's
Mm.
like, how do we use these practices that we know and like sort of inflate time and
Mhm.
a little bit more. And astrology similarly is, it's a timing technique. I was just talking about this the other day, that uh I think people think astrology is like, oh, people arbitrarily made connections between feelings and planets in the sky.
Right.
But they are cycles, like these cycles of planets doing things has echoed throughout time. And then people were just observant of that thing. And
Right.
then that's how the meaning came out of it. The meaning was sort of, it emerged out of it versus just sort of arbitrary choices. So again, it has to do with like time and space and sort of qualities of time frames. Like what part in the spiral are we in, and how does that echo throughout time? Um, and then that inherently affects everything within that time. And so that's why divination or fortune telling, or however you want to say it, comes in. Is like, well, how do I reflect at that through these like smaller fractals, like tarot or I Ching or astrology or, I mean, geomancy. There's so many different types of.
I'd put it down really for just quite a while. I mean, it's always there on some level, but it's so funny. Like, I keep thinking about the phrase, like, remembering to remember,
Mm.
because, yeah, remember to remember. Because when you remember these things, you're like, oh, I learned that before. how did I not remember that? Or even things that I'm getting back into and doing. It feels like I'm doing them for the first time, and I'm like, wait, I was into that like 10 years ago, like, but from a different angle. And this like this the forgetting, the constant forgetting is so wild, and I'm really interested in forgetting less. Um,
Yeah,
at the moment, I don't know. I like forgetting too. Maybe I take that back.
you're right though. There's something about when we return to things that we thought we'd gotten over, we return to like feelings that we thought we left behind. We're like, surely we dealt with this. And it's like, nope, it's right there.
It's right there. And but it's so interesting with the way you're thinking about it at the moment. I'm thinking about those like lessons that reapproach or relationships, and I think of them like this spiral. So you like learn it, and then it like comes back around. And it's like, oh, why don't you try it again a little differently from over here, or try it again? Like, oh, like there's that spiral. But then there's that same thing about these like beautiful openings as well that I hadn't really thought about, and how those spiral back around, and you can look at them differently or from a different perspective as um, like a new gift. Hmm. I
When I
don't
think
know.
about that, when I think about the spirals, it makes me nervous because where's the directionality? Like, if it's really only doing the loop, the loop, the loop, are we going up with the loop eventually? Are we going down? Are we going inside? Are we going outward? That I know that seems abstract, but I know you're with
Yeah.
me. Like,
Yeah.
is this going somewhere still? Is it a growth? Surely it's a growth. There won't be if I resign to not having an arrival, I still want to know more about the journey in total, you know?
Yeah. I it's like all in your approach. I don't know.
It is. It has to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, if you had all the time in the world and all the concentration, which is almost more important,
Hmm.
which I have less of, I would love to understand like how to like do like simple circuitry and like kind of set up in my grand scheme is that I'm building wooden structures that are like also, also able to really functionally be incorporated into contemporary performance.
Hmm.
Um, some of that, I mean, that has come about. I mean, tile was originally the last piece,
Hmm.
and which you were also involved with, Nick, was using LED lights and having it originally was controlled via Wi-Fi. The problem is like, and this is always, I mean, this is just always the process, right? As you make something and you go through all this labor, and then it's like, does it actually like push the thought forward or whatever you're trying to get to? And and often it's not, it doesn't. And so, um, that said, I learned a shit ton, and I will continue to, be trying things. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm most comfortable with carpentry and like lighting and yeah, like this basically simple electrician stuff. Metal is tough. You need like I don't have the tools for metal. It's also expensive and heavy and kind of requires a lot of space.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you brought up tile, I was wondering when you make work, especially like contemporary dance work that incorporates these like sculptural kind of pieces, where does your idea start? Is it more in the idea of like I want to make this kind of structure and then like what kind of themes can I bring out through this? Or do you start with the themes and then think of the structure to match it? Or what is there necessarily an order? Or does it feel like it all happens at once?
Usually, for me, it's the structure first. Like I have a like right now, I just built a I just created a little lighting instrument, and it's very simple to start right now. I don't know where it's going, but it's just a groove in a 2x4, and
Hmm.
I've put up an LED strip inside and then encapsulated the battery into the back end of the 2x4, and so it functionally it's just a 2x4, but then you can turn it on and it's a light.
Um, so one of those last words that you use is something that like I'm so fascinated by, and maybe not in a good way, which is control. Like this idea and this word of control is it's not, I know that it's beyond a binary. I know that I do have, say, power or control over something, yet we know that we don't in this same way. I mean, particularly with a lot of my work in recovery and sobriety, control, that word control is in the room a lot.
Mhm.
So I think I'm trying to particularly with creature creation, I'm trying to move beyond these ideas of obvious control. I think I want to be once again in collaboration with something else, with
Mhm.
someone else, with other things. Dot dot dot. Um, yeah, control is interesting, and when you were asking about does the self stop, or what is sort of the maybe I'll add to what you were saying by saying like edges, maybe
Mhm.
edges of
Okay.
self,
Yeah.
and I'm really interested in some of this theory and some of these ideas that people like Aaron Manning put forward, which is um, that maybe we're constantly bodies yet to be. That when I only come to fruition and become momentarily what I am in this world because I'm sitting here on a Zoom call with you. You know, we manifest because we're near each other, and I tried to reach at this a little bit with some research work that I did last year, and you read this nugget, I think, so I think you can absolutely speak to this as well. Which there was that whole section that I was talking about. DJ Dinah Joe is this dog that I live with, that I've
Mhm.
been living with for the past 7 years, and I talk
Infamous.
about this. Would you say?
The infamous.
The infamous,
Yeah.
the sister.
Yeah.
This walk that I take her on in the park after a rainfall, and I talk about each step sort of contouring, each step that I take, each step that DJ takes sort of contours the earth, and it sort of leaves this little hug that reaches back towards the foot that just left. So in a way, my footfall is creating this indentation in the ground, yet my foot remembers the step that I take, and the contour in the ground remembers my foot. So there's this constant sort of manifesting that's happening as we continue to move around and be with each other.